Elias stood at the edge of the glowing crystal garden, feeling a calm that he had never experienced before. The sky above Leora shimmered with hues of violet and blue, like a river of light stretching across the universe. He often came here after long hours in the research lab, not just to study the plants and their unique glow, but also to think. Tonight, however, there was something more than thinking in his mind. There was Alira, with her translucent, silvery blue skin that reflected the starlight, moved gracefully among the plants. Her large eyes, which seemed to hold a million tiny stars, focused carefully on a cluster of radiant flowers that pulsed softly in her presence. Elias watched her quietly, careful not to disturb her. He had been fascinated by her since the first day she arrived at the research station, but lately, his feelings had grown into something he had never expected, something deeper, warmer, and much more complicated than friendship. The gentle hum of the plants filled the air. On Leora, everything seemed alive. Even the smallest flower or rock had a faint rhythm, a heartbeat of energy that connected every living thing to the planet. Elias loved this world, but he realized that part of what made it magical was that he was seeing it with Alira. Every movement she made seemed to harmonize with the garden. Every sound she uttered felt like a small note in the melody of the night. Elias took a deep breath and stepped closer. The crystal petals of the flowers shimmered under his boots as he walked, leaving faint traces of light behind him. He wanted to speak to her, to tell her everything he felt, but the words always seemed too fragile, too human, too clumsy for the moment. So, instead, he walked quietly beside her, watching as she gently touched the flowers, watching them glow brighter wherever her fingers rested. Finally, Elias could not contain himself. He leaned against a glowing quartz stalk and whispered, almost to himself, "I wish I could marry her." He thought the words had vanished into the night, that only the soft humming of the plants had heard him. But then came a voice, soft, musical, and impossibly calm. "Then you shall." Elias froze. The words were clear, gentle, and entirely unexpected. He turned slowly to see Alira smiling at him. Her eyes sparkled, reflecting the light of the garden like 1,000 tiny stars. Elias felt his heart skip a beat. Was she serious? Was this some kind of joke? He had never known how to respond to her before, and now he was utterly unprepared. I didn't, Elias started, but his voice trailed off. Words seemed useless. How could he explain that he had whispered something he thought she could not hear? How could he respond to the simplest, yet most extraordinary, words he had ever heard? Alira tilted her head slightly, her smile never fading. "Your words are heard, Elias," she said softly. "On Leora, a promise given with truth is sacred. Your wish is a beginning." Elias blinked, trying to understand. "A beginning?" he asked. His voice sounded small in the vast garden. "Yes," she replied. "To wish is to begin, and to begin is to create a path. If your heart is true, then your wish can become part of our lives together." Elias felt a mixture of awe, confusion, and happiness. He had never imagined such a possibility. In all his studies of Leoran culture, he had never read about humans being able to form such a deep bond with the native species. Yet here she was, smiling at him, telling him that something he had only dared whisper could truly happen. He took a small step closer, then another, feeling the glow of the flowers under his feet pulse with each heartbeat. "But I don't understand. How would this even work? Humans and Leorans are so different." Alira's eyes softened. She reached out her hand, and the glow of her skin spread across the tips of her fingers, lighting up the petals near her. "Differences are not obstacles, Elias. They are gifts. They make understanding deeper, love stronger. You see the world in one way. I see it in another. Together, we can see it more completely." Elias swallowed hard. Her words were simple, yet they carried a weight he could feel in his chest. He wanted to believe her, to trust that this strange, wonderful thing could be real. I don't know if I can do this," he admitted, almost in a whisper. "You can," Alira said with a gentle certainty, "because your heart is open, because your wish is sincere. That is all that matters here." The night air felt warmer as Elias considered her words. He had spent so long in the research station, focused on experiments, data, and studies. He had known science, understood theory, and worked with facts. But this connection, this moment was something beyond all of that. Something raw, real, and beautiful. For a while, they stood in silence. The plants around them pulsed gently, as if acknowledging the promise that had just been made. The stars above reflected in Alira's eyes, and Elias felt a sudden sense of calm wash over him. He realized that whatever came next, this moment would remain with him forever. Finally, he spoke, his voice steadier. "Alira, if we really try, if we take this step, will it really work?" Alira smiled and nodded. "All paths require effort, Elias, but if both hearts are committed, if both minds are patient and willing, yes, we can walk this path together." Elias laughed softly, a sound of relief and wonder. I think I'd like that. And she said, her smile growing brighter, would like that too." The two of them walked slowly through the crystal garden, talking about small things, research results, favorite foods, and the way light moved through the flowers. The words themselves were simple, but the connection behind them was profound. Every laugh, every shared observation seemed to deepen the bond that had begun with a single whispered wish. As the night stretched on, the stars shifted across the sky, and the glowing flowers continued their gentle pulse. Elias felt something inside him he had never felt before, a combination of hope, excitement, and quiet certainty. Perhaps, he thought, some wishes really could come true. And then, just as he felt the warmth of the moment settling into his heart, Alira stopped walking and turned to him. "Tomorrow," she said softly, "I will introduce you to my family. They will help guide us. They will help you understand what it means to take this step fully." Elias blinked, slightly nervous but mostly thrilled. "Your family?" "Yes," she said with a serene smile. "Leora teaches us that partnership is never only between two individuals. It touches everyone who cares for us. They will welcome you, if your heart is true." Elias nodded, his mind spinning with excitement and anticipation. He had never imagined that a single wish whispered in the quiet of a garden could lead to something so incredible. As the glowing plants lit their way back to the research station, Elias walked beside Alira, feeling lighter than he had in months. The hum of the crystals, the shimmer of the sky, and the quiet certainty in Alira's voice all told him that this was only the beginning. And as he whispered once more, not out of shyness this time, but with joy, he felt the promise of something extraordinary in the air around him. The next morning, Elias woke before the twin sons of Leora had fully risen. He lay in his small quarters at the research station, staring at the soft, purple glow of the walls. His mind was alive with questions and excitement. Last night's words, "Then you shall," echoed in his thoughts like a gentle song. Could it really be true? Could he, a human, truly walk this path with Alira? He dressed carefully, making sure his uniform was neat. Today, she had promised to introduce him to her family, a concept both fascinating and intimidating. Humans had families, of course, but Leorans, he had studied them academically, read about their traditions, and known that family meant more than blood. It meant a circle of guidance, shared responsibility, and trust. Elias felt a mix of excitement and nervousness when he stepped outside. The world seemed more alive than ever. The floating gardens glimmered with colors he had never noticed before. Each plant pulsed in rhythm with the soft hum of the planet, a reminder that Leora was a living, breathing entity. Alira was already waiting near a luminous crystal archway that served as the entrance to the gardens. Her silvery blue skin glowed faintly in the morning light, and her eyes sparkled as she smiled at him. "Good morning, Elias," she said. Her voice carried a calm certainty that made him feel safe. "Good morning," he replied, feeling his nervousness ease slightly. I'm ready." Alira nodded and motioned for him to follow. "We will take the sky path today. It is faster and will give you a view of the lands where I grew up." Elias had never traveled by sky path before. The structure hovered just above the ground, supported by invisible currents of energy. When they stepped onto it, the path lifted gently into the air, and Elias gasped as the landscape of Leora unfolded beneath him. Crystalline forests stretched for miles, rivers of light wound between hills, and in the distance, he could see the glimmering structures of Alira's family home. "Leora is beautiful," he whispered. Almost to himself, Alira smiled. "It is not only the land that is beautiful, Elias. It is how we care for it. We are part of it, and it is part of us. Soon, you will see how this shapes us, how it shapes our bonds with each other." Elias nodded, trying to take it all in. He had studied ecosystems, but nothing in his academic life had prepared him for a planet so alive, so responsive, so full of quiet magic. He glanced at Alira and realized that she was as much a part of the land as the glowing plants themselves. After a few minutes, the path descended toward a cluster of crystal structures that reflected the morning light like prisms. The largest of these structures was shaped like a dome, with smaller domes and terraces around it. Alira turned to Elias. "This is my home," she said softly. "Inside, my family will help guide you. They will teach you about our traditions, about partnership, and about what it means to take the steps we are about to take." Elias took a deep breath. I don't know what to say. Thank you for bringing me here." Alira's smile was gentle. "Say only what is in your heart. That is all we ask." As they entered the main dome, Elias noticed the air was filled with a soft, golden light. The walls were made of smooth crystal, and glowing plants grew in small, intricate gardens throughout the space. The floor pulsed faintly beneath his feet, in tune with the planet itself. A group of Leorans approached. They were taller than Alira, with similar silvery blue skin and luminous eyes. Their expressions were calm, but there was a curiosity in their gaze as they looked at Elias. One stepped forward, bowing slightly. "Welcome, Elias," the elder said. "I'm Solara, caretaker of our circle. You come with Alira, and that is enough to show your intentions. But we will ask, as is tradition, what brings a human to join the circle of our family?" Elias swallowed. He had prepared no words for this moment, yet he knew that truth would suffice. "I care for Alira," he said honestly. "I want to understand her world, her people, and myself. I want to learn what it means to share a life together." Solara's eyes softened. "Truth is seen." Elias, "Not only heard. You speak well, and your heart is clear. That is what we need to know." Another Leoran, younger and full of curiosity, stepped closer. "What do you know of our traditions?" she asked. Elias hesitated. I have read about them. I have studied them. But I know that reading is not the same as understanding. I am here to learn." Alira reached out and touched Elias' arm lightly. "You are learning," she said, almost as if to reassure him. "Learning is enough. It always begins with an open heart." The Leorans nodded, then gestured for him to follow. They led Elias and Alira through a series of smaller domes, each filled with plants, small crystal pools, and quiet hums of energy. At each step, Alira explained the meaning behind the spaces, how each plant represented patience, each pool represented reflection, and each crystal represented shared knowledge. Elias was amazed. These spaces were not just beautiful, they were designed to teach, to guide, and to nurture. "Everything here has meaning," he whispered to Alira. "Yes," she said softly, "and you are part of that meaning now, as you join us. Your presence shapes the balance as much as we shape it." That is the essence of partnership on Leora. It is not only between two hearts, but with the land, the people, and the energy that connects all things. They reached a larger chamber filled with a circle of glowing crystals. At the center, a soft, golden light pulsed like a heartbeat. Solara turned to Elias. "This is the circle of guidance," she said. "Here, we reflect on intentions, hopes, and understanding. It is where we teach the meaning of promises. A promise, Elias, is more than words. It is a commitment of heart, mind, and action. If you truly wish to walk this path with Alira, you will learn what it means here." Elias nodded, feeling a mixture of awe and humility. "I want to learn," he said clearly. Solara smiled gently. "Good. Let the circle show you. Sit and breathe. Feel the pulse of the crystals, and let your heart align with the truth of your wish." Elias followed instructions. He sat cross-legged on the smooth crystal floor, feeling the warmth of the light beneath him. Slowly, he let his mind quiet, listening to the faint hum of the chamber. Alira sat beside him, her presence calm and steady. He felt a strange connection not only to her, but to the circle, to the chamber, and even to the planet itself. Minutes passed, time seemed to stretch, bending with the gentle rhythm of the crystals. Elias began to feel clarity, a sense of purpose. His his desire to be with Alira was no longer a fleeting thought. It was real, tangible, and alive. The circle of guidance seemed to acknowledge it, its light pulsing gently in response. Finally, Solara spoke. Elias, your wish is true. Your heart is open. You understand that a promise is not only desire, but action, learning, and patience. This is the first step. Continue to walk with honesty, and your path with Alira will grow stronger. Elias felt warmth rise in his chest. He looked at Alira, whose eyes were full of gentle pride. I understand, he whispered. I will do my best, and we will guide you, she replied softly. Not because it is required, but because it is shared. That is what makes a promise sacred. That is what makes it real. The circle concluded with a soft chorus of hums from the crystals, and Elias felt a wave of calm energy wash over him. He realized that this experience was not only about love between him and Alira. It was about connection, understanding, and harmony with something much greater than himself. As they left the chamber, the twin suns had risen higher in the sky, painting the crystal structures in warm gold and pink. Elias looked at Alira, feeling a quiet joy. I think I understand a little more now, he said. You will understand more each day, she replied with a soft smile. And each day, our bond will grow if you continue to walk honestly, openly, and with care. Elias nodded. He felt a sense of peace he had never known. Last night, a whisper had begun something extraordinary. Today, he had begun to understand what it meant to truly step into that promise. And tomorrow, he knew, would bring even more wonder. The morning air on Leora was soft and warm as Elias stepped out of the crystal dome. Today, he and Alira were to spend the day exploring the lands beyond the floating gardens, a place where humans rarely traveled. Elias felt both excited and nervous. He had already begun to understand the meaning of Leoran promises, but he also knew that every step forward would be a test of patience, understanding, and openness. Alira was waiting near the edge of a small plateau, where the air shimmered with faint golden light. Her eyes sparkled with gentle anticipation, and her presence seemed to make the plants around her glow more brightly. Elias approached her, smiling. Good morning, Alira. Are you ready? Always, she said softly, taking his hand. Her touch was cool but comforting, like a calm stream. Elias felt a surge of happiness at the simple gesture. He realized that every small act with Alira, every smile, every touch, every shared glance carried a depth he had never experienced before. They walked toward the edge of the plateau, where a natural bridge of translucent crystals stretched over a glowing river of light. This path leads to the Valley of Echoes, Alira explained. It is a place where our voices and hearts are reflected in the world. You will see and hear things that reveal more than words can explain. Elias looked down at the valley below. The river of light seemed to twist and turn like liquid starlight, and he could see plants and flowers that shimmered in every color imaginable. He took a deep breath, feeling a mixture of awe and humility. It's incredible, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. Alira smiled. It is a place to learn about each other, about trust, about patience, and about how different hearts can beat together. As they stepped onto the bridge, Elias felt a strange sensation. The bridge seemed to hum softly, vibrating in tune with his heartbeat. He looked at Alira, who walked beside him as if the bridge had always known her. Do all Lyorans feel this? He asked. Most do, she replied, but only when their heart is open. This bridge reflects honesty, openness, and care. It responds to feelings, not thoughts. You are ready, Elias. That is why it hums for you. Elias felt a warmth rise in his chest. He realized that this world, so alien and beautiful, was beginning to respond to him. The connection between him and Illyra, between him and the planet, was growing. He had never felt such clarity before, nor had he ever understood the meaning of a heart so fully connected to another. When they reached the valley floor, the air was thick with the hum of life. Flowers swayed even though there was no wind, their petals catching the soft sunlight and reflecting it in dazzling patterns. Small creatures with translucent wings hovered above glowing plants, adding to the serene harmony of the place. Illyra led Elias to a small hill in the center of the valley. Here, we practice reflection, she explained. We speak to the valley, and it echoes our feelings back to us. It does not change them, only shows them as they truly are. Elias looked around. The valley seemed alive, almost breathing. He felt nervous. "What do I say?" he asked. "Speak what you feel," Illyra said. "Do not worry about words. Your heart knows them better than your mind." Elias closed his eyes and took a deep breath. He thought of Illyra, of the glowing garden last night, of the promise she had given him. He whispered, "I want to understand her world. I want to share my life with her. I want to be worthy of this chance." The valley responded. A soft, melodic echo surrounded him, repeating his words in tones he had never heard before. The sound seemed to carry warmth, encouragement, and acceptance all at once. Elias opened his eyes and saw the flowers and trees glowing brighter. As if acknowledging his intentions, Illyra's hand found his. "You speak honestly," she said. "That is always the first step. The valley sees truth, not fear. And you have truth in your heart." Elias felt relief and joy. "It's amazing. The valley, it's like it understands me. Not only you," Illyra said gently. "It understands all who walk here with care. And it will help you understand me, too." They spent hours in the valley, walking among glowing rivers, sitting beneath crystal trees, and sharing stories of their lives. Elias told Illyra about Earth, the places he had seen, the work he loved, and the simple joys of human life. Illyra shared her memories of growing up on Leora, learning to listen to the land, and the traditions that shaped her people. Elias found himself fascinated not only by her world, but by her way of thinking, feeling, and seeing life. Every small detail, her laughter, the tilt of her head when she thought, the soft hum she made when she was happy, told him more about her than words ever could. At one point, Illyra stopped beside a small, glowing pond. "Watch," she said. She cupped her hands and let a small amount of light from the pond rise into the air. The light formed a delicate spiral and then split into two, hovering above the water. "This is how Leorans see partnership," she explained. Two lights, separate at first, but moving closer, learning each other's rhythm, creating a pattern stronger than either alone. Elias stared in awe. "It's a beautiful," he whispered. "Just like us?" "Like us," Illyra confirmed, her eyes soft. "But it will take time, understanding, patience, and care. That is how light becomes strong, how hearts become one." Elias nodded, feeling the truth of her words. He realized that this was more than affection. It was learning to share life in a way that respected differences, embraced growth, and celebrated connection. It was the heart of the promise she had given him, and he wanted to honor it. As the suns began to descend, painting the valley in shades of gold and violet, they rested beneath a crystal tree. Elias leaned back, feeling the gentle warmth of Illyra's presence beside him. "I never imagined that a wish could feel like this," he said quietly. "Sometimes," Illyra replied. "Wishes are only the beginning. What follows is understanding, care, and the willingness to grow together. That is the path we are on." Elias smiled. "I want to walk that path. With you, and I with you," Illyra said softly, her smile radiant. They sat in companionable silence, watching the valley respond to their presence. The plants glowed brighter, the rivers shimmered with soft light, and the creatures above moved in gentle harmony. It felt as if the entire world was celebrating this new connection, as if every element of Leora itself was supporting their journey. As the evening approached, they walked back to the floating path, the valley behind them glowing faintly in the dimming light. Elias felt a sense of wonder he had never known. Every step with Illyra revealed new lessons, new joys, and new ways to understand life, not just on Leora, but in his own heart as well. When they reached the research station, Elias turned to Alira. "Thank you," he said softly, "for everything today." Alira smiled. "There's nothing to thank, Elias. Learning and sharing is the joy of life. And now, you see how our hearts can meet across worlds." Elias nodded, feeling warmth and hope. He realized that the day had taught him more than any book or lecture ever could. It had shown him the meaning of partnership, the power of honesty, and the beauty of connection across differences. That night, as he lay in his quarters, Elias thought of the valley, of the glowing lights, and of Alira's words. His heart was full, and he felt a certainty he had never felt before. Some promises, he realized, were not about instant answers or simple wishes. They were about walking forward together, learning, and letting life itself guide the way. And for the first time, Elias truly understood what it meant when Alira had said, "Then you shall." The morning sun bathed the crystal gardens in a warm golden glow as Elias followed Alira through winding pathways of luminescent flowers. Today was different. Today, he would participate in a Leoran ceremony, an important step in understanding what it truly meant to form a bond with her. Elias felt a flutter of excitement in his chest. He had learned about the beauty and meaning of Leoran promises, but experiencing one firsthand was something beyond imagination. Alira led him to a circular clearing surrounded by glowing crystal pillars. The air hummed softly with energy, and tiny motes of light floated lazily like fireflies. At the center of the clearing was a pool of liquid light, shimmering with shifting colors. "This is the pool of reflection," Alira explained. "Here, we offer something unique from ourselves to show respect, trust, and intention. Your gift, Elias, will reflect your heart." Elias looked at the pool, unsure what to do. "A gift?" he asked. I don't know if I have something worthy." Alira smiled gently. "It is not about value, it is about meaning. What matters is that your gift is a part of you, that it represents your care and sincerity. That is what Leorans honor." He nodded slowly, thinking. What could he offer? He searched his mind, remembering the small crystal pendant he had carried with him since arriving on Leora. It glowed softly with a tiny captured fragment of starlight, a symbol of human curiosity and wonder. Carefully, he held it in his hands. This is from my home. It contains a piece of the stars I have always admired. I want to share it with you." Alira's eyes brightened. "It is perfect. It shows thought, care, and connection. That is exactly what the ceremony seeks." When it was Alira's turn, she reached into the folds of her silvery blue robes and took a small bloom that glowed with soft bioluminescence. The petals opened slowly in her palm, reflecting her calm and gentle nature. "This bloom," she explained, "only opens when touched by someone whose heart is trusted. It is my gift to you, Elias. It is my promise of honesty and guidance." Elias felt a surge of emotion as he took the bloom. Its soft glow was comforting and warm, almost as if it were alive. It's beautiful," he said softly. Alira smiled. "Like the promise it represents?" Together, they approached the pool. Elias placed the crystal pendant carefully on the surface, and Alira laid the glowing bloom beside it. The pool reacted immediately. The light from both gifts began to rise, swirling and mixing, forming a spiral of colors. The crystal starlight and the bloom's soft glow intertwined, creating patterns that seemed to dance in the air above the pool. Elias and Alira watched in awe. "It's beautiful," Elias whispered. "It's like it's alive." "It is alive," Alira said gently, "not only because of the gifts, but because of our hearts. This ceremony does not only reflect the objects we give. It reflects intention, care, and truth. See how our lights combine, forming something stronger than either alone." Elias nodded, feeling the warmth of understanding settle in his chest. The pool's light seemed to mirror not only their gifts, but their growing bond. He realized that this ceremony was more than a ritual. It was a reflection of what they were creating together, a bond built on honesty, respect, and shared intention. After a moment, the colors of the spiral slowly descended back into the pool, leaving the gifts resting on its surface, glowing softly. Alira turned to him, her expression tender. "This is only the beginning, Elias. The path of partnership is not only about giving, but about learning, sharing, and growing together. The ceremony marks your intention, but life will continue to teach you both. Elias felt a strong wave of gratitude. I understand, he said. I want to learn everything. I want to be someone worthy of your trust in this bond. Alira reached for his hand again. You already are, Elias. Worthiness is not proven by deeds alone, but by sincerity, patience, and care. That is what we honor on Leora. They spent the rest of the morning walking among the crystal pillars, reflecting on the ceremony. Elias noticed how even the smallest flowers responded to their presence, glowing brighter as they moved. The land itself seemed to acknowledge their intentions, offering quiet encouragement. It was as if Leora was alive in a way he had only begun to understand. At midday, Alira guided him to a terrace overlooking a valley filled with floating gardens. The air shimmered with light, and a soft wind carried the scent of glowing flowers. This valley, she said, is where partnerships are nurtured. It is a place for reflection, conversation, and shared experience. Today, we will sit and speak about our hopes, our dreams, and the ways we can support each other. Elias felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. Talking about hopes and dreams was simple in theory, but sharing them with someone from another world felt profound. He took a deep breath. I want to understand you, Alira. I want to understand how your world works, how your people live, and how I can be part of it. Alira nodded, her eyes soft. And I want to understand you, Elias. Not only your mind, but your heart, your ways of thinking, your fears, and your joys. That is how true connection is built. For ours, they talked. Elias shared stories of Earth, its oceans, mountains, and human traditions. He spoke of his love for plants and science, of the things that brought him joy, and of the dreams he carried. Alira shared her memories of Leora, of learning to listen to the land, of the teachings of her family, and of the ways her people formed bonds and promises. As the conversation flowed, Elias realized that differences were not obstacles. Instead, they were opportunities for learning. Every detail of Alira's world opened his mind, showing him perspectives he had never considered. Every story he shared gave her insight into humanity, building understanding and trust. By late afternoon, the suns began to descend, casting long shadows across the terraces. Elias and Alira sat quietly, watching the shifting colors of the sky reflected in the floating gardens. The world seemed peaceful, almost expectant. Do you feel it, Elias? Alira asked softly. Feel what? He replied, leaning back and gazing at the sky. The connection, she said, her voice gentle. Between us, between our worlds, between the hearts that wish to grow together. It is stronger than words alone. It is what makes promises real. Elias closed his eyes, letting the warmth of her words sink in. He felt the bond between them, quiet but steady, like the pulse of the planet beneath their feet. He understood that this connection was not instant. It required care, attention, and mutual understanding, but it was strong. And it was real. When they finally rose to leave the terrace, Elias felt lighter than he had in months. The ceremony, the conversation, the quiet moments of shared reflection, it all showed him the true meaning of partnership on Leora. It was not about rules, expectations, or perfection. It was about honesty, patience, and the willingness to learn from each other. As they returned to the crystal gardens, Elias looked at Alira and smiled. I think I understand now. A promise is not just words. It's about how we live, how we care, and how we grow together. Alira's smile mirrored his. Exactly, Elias, and every day we spend learning, sharing, and supporting each other strengthens that promise. The evening air was cool as they walked back to the research station. The glowing flowers reflected soft light on their faces, and the hum of the plants seemed to carry a gentle rhythm, as if celebrating their bond. Elias felt a deep sense of peace and joy. He had started with a simple wish whispered in a garden. Now, he understood that the path forward would be filled with lessons, growth, and connection, and as they reached the station, Elias realized that the ceremony of light had done more than mark a step in their journey. It had illuminated the path ahead, a path of understanding, trust, and shared hearts. For the first time, Elias felt certain. No matter how different their worlds were, no matter how strange some customs might seem, the bond they were creating could thrive. And the light of the ceremony, soft and steady, would guide them forward, one step at a time. The morning air on Leora was crisp, filled with the soft hum of glowing flowers and the gentle light of twin suns, rising over the horizon. Today was the day Elias had been both excited and nervous for, the day of the final ceremony that would formally recognize the bond between him and Alira. He stood at the edge of the crystal gardens, taking in the beauty around him. Every flower glimmered as if it were awake and alive, responding to the quiet pulse of the planet. The floating gardens in the distance swayed gently, and the soft light reflected in the pools of liquid crystal. Elias took a deep breath, trying to calm his racing heart. This ceremony was more than a ritual. It was a celebration of trust, intention, and connection. And it was also a moment that would be remembered for both worlds. Alira appeared beside him, her silvery blue skin glowing softly in the morning light. She smiled, and Elias felt the familiar warmth that always came with her presence. "Are you ready, Elias?" she asked. He nodded. "I think so. I want to be ready. I want this to be perfect, in the right way." Alira took his hand gently. "Perfection is not required. Only honesty, care, and sincerity. That is enough." They walked together along a pathway lined with glowing crystal pillars, each one pulsing faintly in response to their steps. At the end of the path stood a larger, circular clearing. In the center was a wide pool of liquid light, more brilliant than anything Elias had seen before. Round the clearing, the elders of Alira's family stood in calm observation. Their eyes, soft and luminous, welcomed him without judgment, merely acknowledging his presence. Solara, the eldest, stepped forward. "Elias," she said, her voice steady and gentle, "today you show your commitment to Alira and to the bond between your worlds. You have learned, observed, and shared. Today, we witness the living of your promise." Elias felt a shiver of awe. He had spent weeks learning about Leoran culture, participating in ceremonies, and reflecting with Alira. Every lesson had prepared him for this moment. And yet, standing here, he realized that no preparation could truly convey the wonder of what was happening now. Alira took his other hand. "This ceremony," she explained, "is not only about gifts or rituals. It is about alignment. Hearts, minds, and intentions must flow together. When that happens, light emerges." Elias looked at the pool in the center. Its surface was calm, reflecting the soft glow of the suns and the luminous plants around them. He knelt beside it and took the crystal pendant he had brought, holding it with care. "This is from my home," he whispered. "It holds the starlight I have always loved. It represents my heart, my sincerity, and my intention to walk this path with you, Alira." Alira placed the glowing bloom she had given him into the pool alongside the pendant. Its bioluminescent petals opened fully, spreading a soft, gentle light. The pool responded immediately. The two gifts' light rose, intertwining and spiraling upward in a dance of color and energy. Starlight and bloomlight mixed together, forming patterns that seemed to move with their pulse, echoing the rhythm of their hearts. Elias watched, amazed. "It's alive," he whispered. "It's like it knows us. It is alive," Alira replied softly, "because it reflects our hearts. The light will grow stronger as we continue to walk together, as we continue to care, learn, and support each other." For a while, they sat in quiet reflection, watching the pool of light twist and shimmer above them. Elias felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. Every step they had taken together, from the first whispered wish in the garden, to the lessons of the circle of guidance, to the reflections in the Valley of Echoes, had led to this moment. And it was more beautiful than he had ever imagined. Solara spoke again, her voice gentle but firm. "Elias, Alira, the light you create today is a reflection of your sincerity and intention. It is not only your bond that shines, but a symbol for all who witness it. A promise, once acted upon, touches more than to hearts. It touches the world around you." Elias felt his chest swell with emotion. I understand," he said softly. "This isn't just about us. It's about connection, about sharing life and understanding each other and the world we live in. Yes, Alira said, her voice tender. That is exactly it. We are learning together, and that is what makes the promise real. The pool of light began to rise higher, moving like a living sculpture above them. It shimmered in ever-changing colors, from soft gold to deep violet, reflecting the bond they had created. Elias reached out and took Alira's hand. I promise, he said, his voice steady, to learn, to care, and to grow with you. I will honor our bond, and I will walk this path with sincerity. Alira nodded, her eyes glistening with quiet joy. And I promise to walk with you, Elias, to share guidance, support, and understanding. Together, we will grow and explore the worlds that connect us. Solara smiled. Then it is witnessed, and it is accepted. The light confirms the sincerity of your bond. The pool of light slowly descended, folding the crystal pendant and the bloom into a single radiant glow. The entire clearing was bathed in soft, golden light, and Elias felt a deep calm and happiness settle within him. He realized that the ceremony had not only confirmed their promise to each other, it had confirmed the potential of their shared future. For a long moment, they simply sat in the glow, holding hands and watching as the light danced across the pool's surface. Elias felt a wave of understanding. He now knew the meaning behind Alira's words on that first night, "Then you shall." It had been more than a permission. It was a promise, a beginning, and a guide. It was a commitment that required learning, patience, and care. And it was a reflection of hearts willing to meet across worlds. As the suns lowered, casting long, gentle shadows across the crystal gardens, Elias and Alira rose together. They walked back through the pathways, their hands intertwined, feeling the quiet hum of the plants and the pulse of the planet beneath them. Every step felt like a continuation of the promise they had shared. When they reached the edge of the gardens, Elias stopped and looked at Alira. I understand now. I understand what you meant when you said it. Not just words, but a living connection. Something we build together. Alira's smile was radiant. Exactly, Elias. That is the heart of the promise. And today, it shines. Tomorrow, it will grow. And each day after that, it will grow stronger. Elias took a deep breath, feeling a quiet joy and certainty he had never known before. I'm ready, he said softly. Ready to walk the path with you, to learn, to care, and to grow. And I am ready with you, Alira replied. Squeezing his hand gently, they stood together in the soft glow of the evening, the twin suns casting their final light across the gardens. Around them, the planet seemed alive with gentle approval. The flowers glowed brighter. The hum of the crystals echoed softly, and the floating gardens shimmered like a dream. Elias realized that this was more than a ceremony, more than a promise. It was a beginning of a life shared, a journey of growth, and a connection that would span worlds. And it all had started with a single, whispered wish. Alira leaned slightly closer and whispered, "Then you shall, Elias, then you shall." Elias smiled, feeling the full meaning of those words settle in his heart. They were not only an answer, they were a promise, a guide, and a light for the future they would build together. As they walked back toward the research station, hand in hand, Elias felt a deep sense of peace. Leora, with its glowing gardens, humming crystals, and gentle light, had witnessed the beginning of something extraordinary, and he knew that as long as they continued to care, learn, and grow together, the bond they had created would only shine brighter with each passing day. The world of Leora stretched endlessly around them, alive, vibrant, and full of possibilities. And Elias knew that together with Alira, they were ready to explore every wonder it held. Side by side, hearts aligned, promises kept, and futures intertwined.